Okay, everyone, we are back with the midweek gang. We've got Scott McDonald, Asim here as well, and we're going to be chatting for the next half an hour or so. Asim, we'll start with you. We know that your big early season prediction was a double figure victory, or was it just scoring 10 goals? You must have been getting a wee bit excited after about half an hour on Sunday.
I swear, honestly, when Kyogo got that penalty for to try and make it four, I was like, this is surely going to be the one. Because I think in the Dundee United one, it was quite a lot of late goals in the first half, whereas yeah, you're looking at being four up within 20, and it just every time we went forward, we looked like scoring. So I was at that point thinking this could be the one, this could be it, but obviously it wasn't to be. But it was scintillating stuff for that first 20-30 minutes, wasn't it?
I think the crazy thing about that Dundee United 9-0 game is it was 1-0 after about 40 minutes, and we scored 8 goals in the last 60 minutes or 50 minutes of that game. Scott, I mean, the thing about that first 27 minutes, I think it was, I don't think any Celtic fans watching it were particularly surprised at seeing us just cut through a team like that. I mean, we just, obviously quality-wise, we're so far ahead of a team like Kilmarnock, but in terms of intensity too, just streets ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the last couple of performances haven't been there, but I think the circumstances we talked about this last week, didn't we, Hamish? In terms of getting the Ross County out the game out the way, just get 3 points, get to the Rangers game. Let's get that done with, see if we can win it, and then obviously the shackles are off, and it felt like the shackles were off. And we talked about last week. Perhaps now they'll play with less stress and they'll be more confident and they're going to go out and enjoy themselves. My goodness, didn't they? Didn't they half? And I think O'Reilly must have been listening to me last week, about talks about a number 10 and all that, and possibly he's been quieter this season. He was phenomenal. Gets man of the match on the weekend, gets his brace. Could have had a couple more, and it's really nice to see actually, because like I said, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and sort of when some players go quiet, others are taking to the fore, and it's nice to see him hit some form again as well, because he's an absolutely quality player, and I never doubted his ability. It was just that you go through these confident spells and not so confident. And I think what's through him is probably playing a different, position in the team when he had to earlier in the season. I think Ange made comment to that, his presser afterwards, that he's been very impressed with him. He's been very happy with O'Reilly, but it's nice to see him like when he first come to the club, playing in that higher role and what he can do in that role. And hopefully there's more to come.
Yeah, I mean, the way he took those goals on Sunday was excellent. Just side footed them into the corner. The Kelly defending was terrible. Let's not overlook that. But O'Reilly's movement again was really good. I spoke a fair bit about Iwata and Kobayashi yesterday. I just wanted to have a wee chat with you guys about their performances on Sunday as well. Last week, Scott, you'd spoken about Iwata. Maybe you feeling you wanted him to be slightly more advanced of McGregor to kind of allow McGregor to have that impact in the game, and Iwata to kind of have his part to play as well. And that's what happened on Sunday, and I felt it worked quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's no question. I mean, Callum doesn't make many mistakes, does he? And look, at 4-0, you're happy to take at least one of them, on that sticky pitch. But he everything goes through Callum, and when he's in there and he's in that triangle with the back two, and starting everything just like we used to talk about Scott Brown doing so well when he was at Celtic as well. Callum's just taken that to another level, obviously, because his passing range, the way he's able to carry the ball, it's a little bit different from Scott, technically different, but two wonderful players in their own right. But Callum's a little bit different. I like when he's in there because it just feels Celtic have far more control. The inverted fullbacks worked tremendously well on the weekend as well. O'Reilly talked about that as well in his presser after, which was interesting. But the pitch suited them. As much as I was worried about pitch, and I don't like these Astros, I did say perhaps it does suit Celtic in terms of the slickness and how they want to move the ball quickly. And over 700 passes and 70-odd% possession tells you that they enjoyed playing on that surface.
Why would a pitch like that help Celtic? Would it not slow the game up?
No, because it's quick.
Is it?
Look, they're two. I would tell you now, they're two different surfaces. That one to the Livingston one.
Right.
It's a lot shorter in its length, and the way that the pitch is built at Livingston, it's thick and it's there to be slow and to kill you off. as a team that likes to move the ball fast. So hence why Livingston, whether or not they're a good passing team or not, it suits them when the top teams come because they like to move it quickly. Whereas the Kilmarnock pitch is totally different from that. Yes, it will still kick up, and if you play a long one, if it's dry, it will slow down. But overall, the ball will zip a little bit differently, and I think Celtic's style of play, as we could see, it totally tore Kilmarnock to shreds very, very early on in the piece, and it was so impressive. And look, that's what they're capable, isn't it? We've seen it at times this season, and when they get it right, it's an absolute pleasure to watch.
Yeah. Asim, just on, Iwata, impressed with what you see so far. I mean, as I said yesterday, I felt we were seeing a different side of him at the weekend. A bit more creative than we've kind of seen so far, and like he looked as if he was able to pick a pass as well.
Yeah, I think we've done a couple of reactions before where we've always said he's a very neat and tidy player, positionally very good. Always, what I like about him, he's always demanding the ball. He's not shy, and he's obviously in a position in the pitch where, like you said, we've normally got McGregor, but it's just good to see that he's always asking for it. But what I seen differently on Sunday was, as you're saying, a bit more creation. So some of his forward passes was something different to what we maybe seen before from him. Again, I don't know if that just comes with more game time and more confidence, or just the fact that, like you said, Callum playing deeper and gave Iwata the space to play further forward, because I didn't know if he had that in his locker. I hadn't seen it, obviously, we've not seen enough of him, but it was just good to see some technical ability, some forward passes. I think you mentioned in the video yesterday one of the through balls for Kyogo, which was a brilliant pass and good vision from. So I'm really excited to see more of him. And I think that is, I think he has got more to his game than just being a simple player who just passes it on. I think he can create as well. And I think we've got the makings of a kind of really exciting midfield with the different qualities they all bring, because I think they're all different, with it being McGregor, O'Reilly, Hatate, Moy. They've all got different attributes. So that was really good to see. And I think you mentioned Kobayashi as well, which I'm sure you're going to touch on, but I thought he was also another one that was good to see.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to chat about, because I think we look at Iwata next year and he's going to get chances under Ange, because Ange tends to rotate those midfield positions. That's fine. I think Iwata's going to be a really big player. Kobayashi's an interesting one because, Carter Vickers and Starfelt have formed this really good partnership. I think they've both had injuries, Starfelt especially, but really for the past 2 seasons, those have been the two centre-backs that we've built everything on. And I think Kobayashi looks good so far. But my question, Scott, is he good enough to break in, alongside CCV? I know Ange really it sounds like Ange really likes the fact he's left-sided and it gives us a bit of balance. But is he going to be a player who can break up that CCV-Starfelt partnership next season is what I'm asking.
Look, I think a lot of that will be played out in pre-season and how that plays out and pans out. Look, there's obviously a plan for him. You don't bring him in. Yes, they needed cover, obviously, with Jens leaving. But, to cut up that partnership now, it's an ever so strong one. Starfelt, for as much as people sometimes get concerned about his ball play, he still rarely loses it, and he's in control a lot of the time. And defensively, they're so solid, and it's hard to be a centre-back at Celtic if you're not in that too. There's a lot of games you go unchallenged, realistically. They don't get challenged very, very often until, the early parts of the season when there's lots of games and you're playing European, games as well. That's where the challenge is ahead. And that's where we could see the possibility of, if your form's not right, then you'll get in. But look, I think Ange will stay loyal to the two centre backs for now, and even at the start of next season. But look, things can change so quickly, as we all know, with injuries and mishaps and whatnot, or people move on. Who's to say that someone doesn't come in and pay extravagant money for Carter Vickers in the summer? Okay, we don't want that, but he has been tremendous since coming to Celtic, and it's been a wonderful buy from Celtic, and one that I think they will make money on eventually if they want to as well.
Yeah, I really don't want to think of the possibility of Carter Vickers move on. I mean, I was thinking this earlier, Starfelt potentially. I think Starfelt's been a really good signing for Celtic, and I actually think he's I don't know if this is controversial to say, probably one of our best performers of maybe 2023 so far. But, potentially could the view be that maybe he moves on, maybe not even this summer, but maybe the following year, and Kobayashi's ready to step in? Because Ange keeps mentioning the fact he's left-sided, Asim, and when Ange emphasises a point time after time, it's something that's important.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's all about, the team evolving. I'm a Starfelt fan as well. I think he's proven when we need him to defend, he's a good defender. I think, that's one thing. Obviously, Kobayashi hasn't really been fully tested yet in games that we need to defend a lot, albeit he did come on in the second half at Tynecastle when they were trying to get back in the game and dealt with that pretty well. But yeah, the proof will be in the pudding when we play maybe more games where we're on the back foot, whether that's in Europe or against the more attacking side and domestically. But what he does bring, and as you say, Ange keeps mentioning the left-sided factor, and I think that is a key factor because whilst Scott, as you mentioned, Starfield doesn't give the ball away as much, but he is slightly more hesitant and awkward with the ball. And I think if you look at games like last week in the Derby match where Rangers have kind of had a certain press and almost allowed Starfelt a bit of the ball, that's where sometimes our build up can be a bit more ponderous and slower. And I think that's where something that if you look at the how the team might evolve going forward next year is having two ball players who can come out with it from the back or play that pass allows Taylor to maybe go a bit more inverted and then gives the space out wide. And I think that's where we might see Kobayashi being used more and that type of player being more effective for us going forward. And then, as you say, Hamish, it might mean the likes of Starfelt, they've done as a turn for 2 years. It could be the type of player where the model is that you can move him on.
You've gone very tactical, lads. I don't like this level of tactical intellect. I'm not capable of this, so maybe I'll just sign off and you two can chat away.
Well, look, I think one thing's for sure. I mean, they're all internationalists, aren't they? So they'll have their admirers, and if they continue to do well, and obviously Celtic being back in Europe again next year, more than likely, as we all know, look, they're going to be on show. And there's a Euros only around the corner as well for the likes of Starfelt. Can he push his way into that, Swedish national team? Which again, if you get into the national team levels, then your price gets hiked up. That's for certain. If you're in the starting 11 and you're doing well, so look, there's lots to play for all the players. There's lots to look forward to, and you need a squad that's capable. And somewhere, centre backs are hard to come by at the price tag that you're asking for at a club like Celtic when you're competing with the rest of Europe. But they seem to have three that are very capable of defending in a 1v1 situation, but are very comfortable on the ball and controlling the game also. So we know that's the way Ange is going to want to play, and we know that's the way he's still going to play in Europe.
Yes, we do know that. Some nice comments from Matt O'Reilly on Kyogo after the game on Sunday. O'Reilly said, "He's probably the nicest man I've ever met, genuinely. It's not just on the pitch with what you see. He's genuinely the nicest man I've ever met. That guy could miss 4 open goals in a game and still be smiling, which I find incredible. It shows the kind of guy he is, and it's really nice to have someone like that in your team, regardless of whether they miss or score. They're still going to work hard." Kyogo now in 29 goals for the season. I believe he got 20 last season, which would put him on 49 for the club, meaning obviously his next one would be quite a big one. And I mean, that first goal, Scott, was just magic.
It was fantastic, wasn't it? The way he took it on the halfway line, drove with it, and look at how he sold the dummy as well. The defender was coming very, very quickly. Probably should have slowed down, but how he takes it there after that, look, it's wonderful. Look, has he got levels to go? I love it when he takes the ball like that. You'd like to see him do that more often, but look, what I like about him is that he knows the players that are around him are going to get him what he needs most of the time, and he's always in the right area, isn't he? We've seen that against Rangers, the week before, how he gets into those vital areas. We've seen it time and again this season as well, and he's well and truly back, from that horrible hamstring injury that not a lot was made of it. Obviously Ange kept it really quiet under wraps, but to tear the hamstring off the bone, pretty much what they say, that happened. To come back from that isn't easy, and psychologically to come back from that as good as what he has done, and he doesn't look like he's lost anything from it. which is really pleasing to see because he is 28. He's not a young kid either. But yeah, he's getting better and better, and I think it's someone that we'll see at the club for a good while yet as well. I don't see him going anywhere.
Right, I think we'd all love that. I don't know if you guys saw the documentary that he did recently, and he actually revealed that he's got a scar on his hamstring from the surgery. And it sounded like he had two options. You probably know better than me, Scott, but he could either kind of continue and not miss as long, but risk it kind of happening again, or he could effectively sit out the rest of the season, which he basically did, but be less likely to have a similar occurrence happen. And it's clearly been a good move. We won the league last year, and he scored so many goals this season. I tore my hamstring once, and see the mental strength you need to go and sprint full speed again, because it's all, for me anyway, it was always in the back of my mind. And he's such a player that's his whole game's reliant on his speed, so it's amazing to see him at full speed like he was on Sunday. If we just move on, a few interesting stories over the past 24 hours, everyone. Liel Abada being monitored by Ajax, according to Sky Sports. Not really much else being said by Sky. A fair chance that this is maybe agent-led stuff again, similar to what we saw with Josip Juranovic about a year ago. Abada and Juranovic do have the same agent, you may know, Hussein Al Gayod. And yeah, it does seem increasingly likely to me, anyway, Asim, that Abada may be off this summer. What do you think?
Yeah, it seems to be no smoke without fire there. It's like you say, it's similar in the kind of build up to Juranovic and Giakoumakis leaving. It was all that kind of chat and rumours, and I think obviously there is that element that he isn't a first team starter, and he is probably at the age, and he's thinking his agent will be thinking we can get him a move down south or abroad, like you say, like clubs like Ajax. That's it's a big club. But from our point of view, I think yeah he fits again into that kind of group of players where I think there's about three or four who I definitely don't want to see leaving, and I think are like the spine of of where we're at and how we want to progress. And probably down the middle, you've got Carter Vickers, McGregor, Hatate, Kyogo. But around that, you've got players like I think Abada who have been brilliant for us in stage one of Ange's kind of turnaround, and he's contributed brilliantly. We bought him quite, for 3.5 million, I think it was. So it was,
Yeah.
a fair sum for at that point a 19-year-old, and he's done well for us. But if we can get a big chunk of money for him, again, I don't think he's someone who's a first team starter every game. So we can then use that to reinvest. Yeah, he's not one that obviously I wish to see go, but at the same time, I think it fits into that model, and it does look with all the chat that it could be a goer, that whether it's Ajax or not, but it seems to be the agents trying to get him a move.
It's probably just part of this whole transfer strategy that Ange has, Scott.
Yeah, look, if there's one that I'd be disappointed to leave, it's probably him. Uh, Going, with the wingers and who I really like, I think he's the most direct. He's the one who's matured the most over the period of time he's been at the club. And I still think there's a lot more for him to improve on and to get better at the football club. He's the biggest goal threat as well. He scores more goals. Look, probably argue that with Jota, but
He's the
I
second
actually
top
think he's more
scorer at Celtic under Ange after Kyogo.
Well, there you go. So like, for me, he's always a goal threat as well, and at times he's been unplayable. He's had his moments. I think all the wingers have had their moments. They've not been fully fledged in a full season and went the whole season and being untouchable. And I think it's worked out well that Ange rotates them. The question is, you get the money for him. Where do you got to find the next one again? And he's still relatively young. He's not in his mid-20s yet. But again, money talks, and agents get greedy, and maybe it's a relationship thing with the agent and the football club as well now that's broke down in terms of you see this happen at times where the relationships are good when you're bringing players into the football club, and then all of a sudden it's right, well, we want a new deal and we want X because we see others on X, and the club doesn't want to play ball with that. And then all of a sudden you see one go, you see two go, and all of a sudden you see the whole of his group of players that he has at the football club go because the relationship diminishes. Now, I'm just speculating. I don't know that for sure myself, but if you put one and one together, you can sort of speculate that, I guess. That's what's happening at the moment. But yeah, for me, he's one I wouldn't want to see lost. No, I don't think it's worth it right now in terms of going into Europe as well. And if you're wanting to do well in the Champions League, to bring another one in, I think he can excel at that level and possibly get more money for him in the future as well.
Yeah, I take your point on Abada. I think he does have real potential. He's 21. As I say, he scored all those goals. My big question would be whether he's going to reach that potential, fulfil that potential at Celtic, whether he's going to get that game time to do it at Celtic. I don't want to sound like I'm selling Abada right now. This is only a report from Sky about Ajax. It just feels to me, and I think you guys as well, like it's maybe heading this way. It's kind of similar vibes to what we got with Juranovic and even Giakoumakis. But I just feel like he's been a brilliant player for us, and he scored some really big goals, some of my favourite Celtic goals. But maybe it's just what we need to do to keep improving, and I do feel that we could probably sign an even more effective player with the money we received. But I guess we'll wait and see. I want to chat a wee bit about the Lowland League, guys. Celtic B will play in the Lowland League again next year after a vote last night. As always, if you've been on social media, a fair bit of moaning from fans of other teams, not even like fans of Lowland League teams, just fans of like other Scottish kind of Premiership teams, unhappy that Celtic and Rangers and Hearts have B teams in the league. But it is what's going to happen. Celtic have finished this season's campaign 76 points from 36 matches. We have to wait and see until the rest of the matches have been played to see if we finish above Rangers and in second. Have we followed any of this Lowland League stuff at all, Scott? Obviously, a couple of your former teammates in charge of the B team at the moment. Have you get kind of any thoughts? Have you heard anything of how it's going?
Look, I think it's been a fantastic experiment. If the chats that I've had, brief ones as they are, as the boys are so busy in terms of Darren O'Day and Steve McManus, that they've been really pleased in terms of the progression of the team itself and the players itself as well, and how they've took on board everything that's been asked of them, obviously playing in a similar style to what the first team want as well, and obviously playing against men, and it's not always going to go the way you want at that level as well. But there's some bright young talent in there as well, and it's good for them to play under pressure and play where they have to have consistency, which they seem to have done very well this season. Obviously not finishing top. Rangers have got a couple of games left, I think you were saying to me, so they could potentially go above Celtic in that league at the moment. But who was the champions of that? It wasn't East Kilbride. Who was it? It was Spartans, yeah, because they've done exceptionally well, haven't they? So they'll get the opportunity now to go up. But look, I think it's a great concept. Look, people will moan, and you're never going to keep everyone happy, but it's something that works very, very well in terms of in Spain. For some of the top sides, albeit that they can actually get promoted over there, which doesn't really happen in this league, I don't think. So that would be interesting to see if that was to happen as well. I don't think there'd be many people wanting that or happy with that. But look, I think it's a great flagship for the top clubs in Scotland to be able to keep their younger players happy. And considering the couple of years that we've had, guys, in terms of that COVID era for these young players and what they missed out on, I think this has been exceptional and lucky for the likes of the Rangers and Celtic youngsters and Hearts youngsters that they get this opportunity now to develop in this league itself.
From what I kind of understand, it's a mix is what's good for these young players. So having a kind of mix of everything. So by that, what I mean is Lowland League playing against men for the most part. Kind of Glasgow Cup stuff as well, which is kind of similar, wee bit of history attached to that, but also the games down south against other youth teams, and also the whatever they call it, the Youth Champions League as well, which we're obviously going to be in next season as well. So it seems like having a mix of all of them is what's the best kind of way to go about things, and we've had that this season, we're going to have that next season. And I guess Asim having, Rocco Vata and Ben Summers come on at the weekend is maybe evidence that things are starting to go, because we know Ange wouldn't hand out, even even a couple of minutes to players if he didn't feel they didn't deserve it.
Yeah, and I guess that'll be the proof in the pudding of whether this is a success or whether, we can see actual pathways for these players to come in. And you've seen that with even Bosun Lowell, who's had a few minutes this season as well, hasn't he? He played a couple of games, and Vata looks bright and brilliant for Summers as well at the weekend, making his debut. So I think obviously with the injuries, it's helped that we've been able to give these guys a bit of game time and get them in the matchday squad, and I think hopefully we'll continue to see that. So it seems to be working, as Scott says. It's the most important thing is they're getting game time and they're playing and they're developing, and it's just whether then they can make that step up when they get the chance, and hopefully over the next few weeks we'll probably see a bit more of that. As once we hopefully clinch the title, you might see some more game time for some of these younger lads.
Which brings us on to Saturday, just briefly, Scott. Motherwell, your old side at Celtic Park, and the chance to go 15 points clear. 15.
Yeah, and look, I think it's a great time to be getting Motherwell. I think they're well and truly safe now. They can't reach that top six, so not a lot to play for Motherwell. You could say that they'll come with a freedom, but after watching Celtic on the weekend, you're not going to play with much freedom, that's for certain. It's going to be a tough ask for Motherwell. Ketwell's done exceptionally well since coming in there, steadied the ship really, really well for them. But look, I can't see past anything more than a Celtic win and some free-flowing football once again, and very comfortable even by half-time. There you go.
All right, okay. That'd be nice. It'd be nice to get your 10-0 this weekend, Asim, wouldn't it? But we might save it for the Scottish Cup final if we get there. But we'll maybe have some more on that nearer the time, depending how next weekend goes. Guys, thanks again for your time. Thanks everyone for tuning in and watching this video. We never take it for granted. We'll be back on Friday looking ahead to the game against Motherwell.